Welcome to Hamim Royale. This is Eric Grissom.
And I'm Dan Johnson. Eric and I will be rewatching the iconic Twin Peaks from the pilot through the return and everything in between.
If this is your first time watching, or if you're a longtime fan, you can watch along with us as we dive deep into the strange and wonderful world of Twin Peaks.
We live inside a dream.
Today on Meanwhile, we are tackling Rest in Pain, Dan. But I want to take a little detour, a little side hustle. I'm trying to look for the shoes hanging from the power lines. No, I want to talk because we're doing this show. 35 years ago, young me watches Twin Peaks.
Yep.
Creatively charged, right? It inspired a whole generation. And I feel I'm watching this show. It's on Apple Plus. It's called Severance. I think a lot of you are watching it, but
Severance? What is that?
I wonder if it's going to have the same effect on people that Twin Peaks had on me, because I have not seen a show this creative and interesting and different, and it's just a wonderful thing. And so that's all I'm going to say is if you're not watching it, I do recommend it. But like Dan Erickson, who's the creator of Severance, will he go on to do wonderful things? And will 35 years from now, while I'm in some work camp, because I said the wrong thing online, will they grow up and have a podcast? I thought I was painting a pretty bleak future. And then when I said in 35 years, some poor 50-year-old is going to be starting his own podcast, I think I got a little darker. But yeah, that's it. I just think it's a great show. But we're here to talk about Rest in Pain.
Rest in Pain, Eric.
This is our first sort of break in Twin Peaks where the script is coming from Harley Peyton and it's being directed by Tina Rathbone. Tina will go on to direct another episode in season 2. Harley Peyton, now he writes 14 episodes of Twin Peaks, so we're going to see his name a lot. Huh. He also wrote, I think, 3 or 4 episodes of Chucky, which was a pretty good show. He wrote for the first season. He wrote the screenplay for Less Than Zero, based off the book of... I love
that movie.
Bret Easton Ellis. He did the adaptation. Great. And also, Tina Rathbone did a movie called Zelly and Me, which came out a couple of years before this. It starred Isabella Rossellini and David Lynch. Now, David Lynch it's enough of a role to feel like a supporting actor, but it's kind of a minor role. Excellent movie. It's a very interesting movie. It's about a orphan girl who is taken in by her grandmother, this sort of rich, lush estate in Virginia, I want to say. And it's about abuse, like there's self-harm, and it's like not an easy watch, but it's visually a really cool movie. It's interesting to see David Lynch in a straight role, like he is acting.
Is this your father's?
Joan, I'm not who you think I am.
I know.
But that's how she got into the world of Twin Peaks. So my long-winded way of saying he had been in her movie, and now he's sort of returning the favor, and she's directing the third episode, of season 1. It premiered on April 26, 1990, Dan, on ABC, and a new challenger approached. Falcon Crest. But the Falcon, like Max Cannon before it, would not overtake it. But once again, it loses to Cheers. So Cheers takes top spot, but it's holding its own for whatever that's worth. I like to think of like what else is on TV, but who cares, right?
Similarly, what was in the zeitgeist? This is the week that Nothing Compares to You by Sinead O'Connor takes the #1 spot on the Billboard charts. Love Will Lead You Back, then I'll Be Your Everything, and this is the first week that Nothing Compares to You hit the top of the charts.
There you go.
And it will be there for quite a while. All right, Eric, but we're not here to talk about Sinead O'Connor.
We're going to talk about this. So again, the direction here is from Tina Rathbone. The way she talked about it, they had a lot of control over this. And I had heard Mark Frost and David Lynch talk about when they were doing the show and when they were going to give these episodes to certain directors that they wanted them to have a lot of control. And from what, Tina Rathbone had said in the commentary tracks and stuff, like, it really was like making mini movies.
Even in terms of the editing, I feel that David and Mark Frost didn't ask us to change more than 4 things. So that the intimacy of the first year, where we were not in a fishbowl, nobody seemed to be watching us, it felt like you were making a feature film, or quasi-feature film. There was an enormous amount of freedom.
It seems very intense because they shot this thing in a week.
They shot this episode in a week.
Yeah, and I think that was that was pretty normal for TV at the time. Like, because everything's on a studio, so all the costumes and stuff, everything's ready. Locations are ready. So then it becomes a matter of cranking it out. So that's just photography, but then you got editing and post-production and all of that stuff. When they shot the pilot, David Lynch had shot like sort of a collection of mood pieces. You've got the wind through the pine trees. We've got my favorite street lights hanging in the wind. Yeah. So each of these directors sort of had like access to these things. So it's interesting to see like, what they picked.
We got a number of those in this episode for sure.
Yeah. So let's just jump into it, Dan. Take me to the Great Northern, please.
Absolutely, Eric.
What are you looking at? What are you waiting for? Sick. You damn hypocrites make me sick! Everybody knew she was in trouble. But we didn't do anything. All you good people. You wanna know who killed Laura? You did! We all did. And pretty words aren't gonna bring her back, man, so save your prayers. She would've laughed at them anyway.
Picture it. It's 7:15 a.m. at the Great Northern. We got Audrey waiting in the hallway for Cooper at the hotel restaurant, and she accepts an invitation to breakfast. And soon Harry and Lucy arrive for some police business, and Cooper recounts his dream. Tell me what you thought about this whole...
Yeah, this is a great opening to start with Audrey. So we're going off the waterfall. And if her dad is fire, she is the water. So we get the waterfall into... No, I kid with that one. But she is so striking, visually striking. Mm-hmm. I love sort of the opening. Whatever's going on with the two of them, like it is electric at this point. He is not pushing her away. I feel like he is certainly tempted.
Huh.
I know like that is also, going on behind the scenes. Like we heard it with the first episode. So they were establishing it. Same thing with Tina, when she talks about basically the idea behind it was they were seeing that where this was going to go. This was sort of, it's moving towards a relationship. But I feel like he's not doing anything, but he's not being as forceful maybe as he could be when he's commenting on the handwriting and stuff. Like he's not doing anything inappropriate, but he is certainly
not discouraging her.
He's not discouraging her, and I think she's like they have great chemistry. Like it is a really interesting thing going. Another piece that I really like about this scene is all the stuff we learn about Audrey and Laura. And I can't wait for us to do the diary because you really find out why they're not friends. Like there's so much more to their history. I love the way that Sherilyn Fenn acts in this scene too. Even just like the way she delivers lines about like women work there. And like all of that stuff she's just mesmerizing. And we get that big connection that, Laura worked at Horn's department store and she worked at the perfume counter. So now that Ronette connection that we've been going after is stronger.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. We see the shot of Audrey leaning back with her eyes closed against one of the carved poles in the Great Northern, kind of the totem pole kind of carving. and she almost is dancing and swaying like she always does, just kind of waiting for Cooper. She's always in this sort of dreamy state that I just absolutely love until Cooper arrives, and she moves over and gets ready for him, and the salute of Colonel Cooper was just a cute moment. But he invites her to breakfast, and she says that she's in a hurry.
Right. She's like, I got something to do. Or
for what?
Like, where are you going?
Nothing. I love that you can see Cooper putting things together. So asking her to write her name on the card and the perfume that she's wearing. So he puts it all together. And the interchange between the two of them. Audrey, there's something you want to tell me. Is there? You slipped this note under my door. Did I? I love that kind of coyness that's going on there. I gotta say, the relationship between them, there's definitely sparks on screen. I think you're right that he's not discouraging her. I don't see much more than that, though. I mean, she's definitely seems much more into it. But
I don't know, man. I mean, he's like, be careful. Like it's tough. It's tough with this because I certainly don't want him to be interested in a high school girl. But to me, there's no denying the chemistry between the two.
No, there's definitely chemistry there.
Magnetic watching the two of them. Like if she were 25 instead of, 17 or whatever, then it would be like a great first date.
One thing I wanted to note too is when Lucy and Harry come into the restaurant and Cooper says, police business, that she has to go. She says, "Thank you for talking to me." And I think that's such an important line for her character. It's not just like, I was glad to spend time with you, whatever. It's like, thank you for talking to me. More like, the issues she has with her father, that she's not actually seen, that she actually wants someone to actually recognize her and speak to her like a person.
I'm going to have to ask you to leave now. Police business.
Thank you for talking to me.
I just like there's a lot in one sentence there that I read into it. But now we get Harry and Lucy coming in. Lucy, just a storm of energy following behind Harry. I think she's adorable. I love Lucy throughout all of this, especially as Cooper is retelling his dream to Harry and Lucy. So go ahead, tell me what you thought about this half.
Well, this is like
scene.
this part is so good, right? Because we had talked about the international ending. We reviewed some of it when we did the pilot episode. Mm-hmm. But with this scene, like the international ending is now a dream. Cooper references things that happen in the international ending that we did not see in episode 2. Because it's as if it's a dream and we're being presented with fragments of that dream, but the actual international ending itself is canon within Cooper's dream, because he talks about how that one-armed man calls him on the phone, like all of these things that happen in that scene. I love it. The whole like, you were there and you were there is just reminds you of the Wizard of Oz.
Harry, let me tell you about the dream I had last night.
Tibet.
No. You were there. Lucy, so were you.
And you were there.
Oh, sure.
But you couldn't have been, could you?
Oh, we dream lots of silly things when we...
No, Aunt Em. This was a real, truly live place. And I remember that some of it wasn't very nice, but most of it was beautiful.
But they weren't there in the international ending either.
Sure they were. Like,
where
they went down to the basement to get together.
Wait, Lucy and Harry?
Lucy was sitting in her room.
Right.
And Andy was playing with his horn.
Oh, so he's referencing that as being
that entire ending is his dream.
I was only thinking of the part at the hospital.
Yes.
But you're right. Okay. The
whole thing is his dream, even if he's not a present character in a scene. Right.
I'm with you. Okay.
That's the way crazy. I take it.
No. Yeah. That's the only way this could make any sense because those things didn't happen in what we saw in the previous episode.
Which makes it so cool for me. And I love that. There's some things that I want to point out that I forgot to last time. Like we do get a flashback of the dream as he's recounting it. We see Laura get up and kiss him. the red curtains, right? So it's like, where else have we seen red curtains? One-Eyed Jacks. So we have like these little symbols and stuff that are coming from the dreams.
Right.
I love his explanation, Cooper's explanation about where do dreams come from when he talks about those acetylcholine, like neurons. The synapses and the firing and the electricity and like all of that stuff feels like it's the dreams catching ideas and all of that stuff that's coming through electricity, which is a recurring motif. It's great that like also you have that whole dream, you have that very weird sequence and you have all this stuff happening, and then he sort of distills that dream into the most important elements, and it's like, okay, favorite gum is coming back into style. Cousin looks like Laura Palmer. She's filled with secrets. Sometimes her arms bend back, and where we're from, the birds sing a pretty song.
Yep.
Break the code, solve the crime. It's like, there it is. Here it is for you, and like write all that stuff down in your journal and your diary, and you're going to be set. I love it. It's just great.
It is great. I thank you for putting those pieces together for me. I was wondering why he's telling us things that we literally did not see in the previous episode as part of the dream, but you're 100% right. It's just the entire international ending is the dream, and that solves all of that. I just had so many questions here, but thank you. Okay. Really great too. What he says, she whispered the name of the killer in my ear, and who was it? I can't remember. And Harry says, damn. And then Lucy says, damn. I just love her so much.
Yeah,
she's this
she's
entire
adorable.
thing. She's just wonderful. Every time she's on screen, I just smile. That's great. So from the Great Northern, Harry gets a call that he needs to head over to the morgue. So we're over at the morgue, and there's a shouting match that's broken out between the Sultan of Sentiment, because he won't release Laura Palmer's body to her family for the burial, because he wants to continue doing the autopsy. It ends in a fist to the face and some stern orders.
Yeah, that look, the look of that Ben is giving Laura is just unnerving, considering all the stuff that we've learned about Ben.
Yeah.
We know Laura's from the perfume counter. We know about the perfume counter to One-Eyed Jack's, pipeline of misery. The fact that we start on that shot. Also, just in general, as I mentioned before, where each director sort of has their own feel. While Dwayne Dunham sort of mimicked Lynch's style of shooting with not a lot of camera movement, we're getting a good amount of camera movement in this episode, which is really interesting. Like, I love that pullback from the close-up of Ben and Laura, past like Albert and Doc Hayward. And there's going to be some more stuff like that. We get some walk and talks and things that we don't normally get. But this scene is so cool. Like, Miguel Ferrer is just so funny, and the way that he sizes up Ben, instantly as a corruptible force, where he's like venality, insincerity, and an irritating method of expressing yourself.
Absolutely.
Is so awesome. Seeing Laura like this is also like kind of a gut punch a bit, because, we keep talking about Laura. We're always seeing her photo at the end of these 3 episodes at this point in that prompt. But now we're seeing her like on a gurney, and the color missing from her face and her hair. And you're just reminded that this is a dead person.
And they hold on that for quite a long time, like 10 seconds of just Laura on screen. I thought totally, it was really effective, centered it back on a real person and not just this abstract mystery. I thought that was great.
Yeah, and just like the idea, like this idealism of small town America versus like the arrogance of big city type people, but as you peel the layers away of this small town, it's not always these things. It's not always this innocence. Dan, tell me about, obviously, Miguel, but there's so much more happening in here.
We have already been introduced to him. We get a sense of who he is, but he really just lets it rip in this scene. Like, not only, as you mentioned, accurately and incisively cutting Ben Horn down to size in just like one sentence, nails him, but just his complete lack of any sort of empathy for the people around him. You can have a funeral anytime, dig a hole, plant a coffin. What a turn of phrase. Like, that's nuts. He has a lot of cutting and pasting to do as he's like pulling the drill out to start like getting into Laura. Just absolutely someone who's there for the business, but not for the humanity of it at all. And then just the whatever it is, a dozen or so insults right at Harry.
Oh, yeah. Well, I've had about enough of morons and half-wits, dolts, dunces, dullards, and dumbbells. And you, chowderhead yokel, you blithering hayseed, you've had enough of me?
Yes, I have.
And they're very good insults.
They are very good insults. They roll right off of his tongue. He's just excellent. I mean, I absolutely love this character for just how abrasive and unapologetically abrasive he is.
When Harry knocks, first off, like Harry just hits his limit and
Belts
he
him.
just knocks him down. But when he falls on top of Laura and he goes, how appropriate, and he looks at Laura, and then as we're learning, how many men were involved with Laura in this town. And even when she's a corpse, there's like men on top of her.
Wow. Yeah.
And so that image is just I don't know. There's something.
Even in death, she's still not safe and violated by men. Yeah.
It never ends.
Well, I can't follow that. Other than to say that it was not a rustic sucker punch. That wasn't a sucker punch. Harry telegraphed that punch from 3 feet away. So I blame Albert for getting hit. I do like he says to Cooper, he hit me. Well, I'm sure he meant to do that.
Yeah.
So just a great... Cooper in this episode he starts off, before we even meet Albert, that he's excited that he's going to come. He chooses Albert over the other guy and says, Albert's going to be the right one to do this. When he shows up, he's excited. Even when Albert's there and he's insulting Lucy and insulting Harry when he first shows up at the police station, at the sheriff's station, Cooper's still, on board with Albert doing this. Throughout this episode, his welcome is worn thin with Cooper, and we'll see that in a later scene too.
Yes, but
you see that here already.
And you do learn, why does Cooper work with Albert? And we will find out later on.
Oh, and the last thing, Cooper just putting Laura's hand back on her.
Yes.
Afterwards, her hand was dangling there, and he's just looks down at her and just takes that moment. But then we head over to the Palmer home. We're treated to some more daytime soaps with another episode of Invitation to Love. And Leland welcomes his niece Maddie, who bears a striking resemblance to her cousin Laura.
Yeah, I love this. He just holds on Leland and sort of slowly moves in on him as he's getting his intravenous tranquilizer medicine. One note on the soap opera, seeing that soap, it reminds me so much of a full motion video cutscene from a CD-ROM. That could have been in Seventh Guest or something. After you put all the candles properly on the birthday cake, you would get cut to that. I love Cheryl Lee, so having her as now a character, as Maddie, we see that soap opera and, the fact that you see and Jade and you see the same actress
Jade and Emerald,
But I love Cheryl Lee. Originally she was not supposed to be in the show, as was Audrey Horne. I don't know if we talked about Audrey Horne. Sherilyn Fenn had auditioned, I think, for Donna's role. And David Lynch wrote the part. They wanted her okay, now there's this is a new part for you. So it just sort of came. Same thing with Cheryl Lee. So she was just supposed to play a corpse essentially and be this Laura Palmer, but they liked working with her so much. And I love the character that she's going to play, that we're going to meet. We don't really see too much of her here, of Maddie. But I loved it.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot else in this. Like you mentioned, just calling out the meta aspect of not only of what's going on in the soap opera, mirroring what's happening in the story, but just the fact that it is a soap opera within a soap opera. As dark as Twin Peaks is, it still is kind of an evening soap in a way. And just Leland's reaction to seeing Maddie and the two of them. It is great to see that first view of Maddie with the big smile and the big hair, and just it's Laura but brunette.
But doesn't she look almost like that? You sweet wash Laura Palmer.
Again, another dream thing that is coming out of the dreams and into our world.
Yes. Well, next, Eric, we head over to the Double R. Norma gets an update about her husband's parole hearing, which is coming up the next day, coming soon.
I got to tell you, it feels like a scene's missing.
Yeah,
right?
I was going to say that. Absolutely.
Yeah. You have to just assume something happened off air in between episode 2 and episode 3, because it was always hard for me to like, why does Norma do this? Like all of a sudden she's like hooking Hank up with a job and helping him with his parole. Other than that, I don't have that much to say about this scene, other than I really like Norma.
Yep.
Peggy Lipton. I think she's awesome. I like how she handles that creepy.
He's such a creep.
Lawyer. He's such a sleaze, and she's dealing with guys like this all the time. But my big question again is like, why?
Yeah. I guess I just assumed, she's married to him. He's going up for parole, so she's going to do what she can to help him because she's kind of obligated. That's how I read Norma's, she hasn't left him, even though her husband's in prison. She could have divorced him or gotten separated, whatever, but she hasn't. So she's, loyal to her responsibilities at this time. But now we can head over to the Johnson house. Leo's going to get an introduction to Special Agent Cooper, and we learn a little bit about Leo's run-ins with the law and his alibi for the night of Laura's murder.
Yeah, again, a different type of shot than we normally get. We get the sort of the walking and talking. Tell me everything you can about Leo Johnson. Between Harry and Cooper. Cooper's sort of joy at the ducks is always wonderful. Ducks on the lake. He's just so happy. But then he immediately goes right to business. Yep. We get we see Leo's car, red, fire. There's so many pieces of red imagery in Twin Peaks that you would just get tired if you had to point them all out. But clearly, like, I think that's sort of an intentional thing. I love Leo even more now than I have before because I love his delivery of she will if you ask her.
Yeah.
Like when he's like, will she
corroborate
for your whereabouts because he's calling from Butte, Montana or whatever. I don't have much to say. I like the way Cooper handles Leo. And I like the whole interchange, and I like how even Leo is like, who's that? Like, he doesn't care. No. I know that he's not your favorite actor necessarily in the world, but for me, he's perfect, and he only gets better.
Yeah, totally agree. I think, after Cooper says, look at that, ducks on a lake, when they come walking up and doing the walk and talk, Cooper's looking around at the Douglas firs as well. So he's still entranced with the trees.
It's a beautiful place.
Which is great. I love Cooper when he's catching someone out and what they're saying. He asked,
get that twice in this episode.
He asked Leo, how well did you know Laura Palmer? And he says, you're lying, but he says it with this big smile on his face because he knows that he's digging into this. And also when Leo says, he's never had a run-in with the law, and Cooper just rattles off, whatever it is, his rap sheet.
Right, very similar to how he treated Bobby.
Absolutely, yep.
That laughing.
Absolutely, yeah.
The smiling approach.
Yep, he's just, same thing again. And we do get the reference again to Butte, Montana, because that was when Bobby and Shelley are heading back from the diner to go have before he heads off to school to have a little roll in the hay. And she says that he's in Butte, but apparently he wasn't. I did look it up on a map to see, guessing kind of where Twin Peaks would be in the relationship to the Canadian border, because I don't know exactly where.
Yeah, they tell you, he says exactly, now I don't have it in my notes, but in the pilot.
Entering the town of Twin Peaks, 5 miles south of the Canadian border, 12 miles west of the state line.
People have found it.
I'm sure. I'm sure. But I just doing a rough, it's 6 to 7 hours or so. So he could have called her the night before from Butte and been there in the morning. So, yep, his alibi might not be airtight. But leaving that aside, we'll head over to the Briggs household. We got Bobby, the Major, and Betty getting ready for Laura's funeral, and Bobby plays with fire. What do you think of this one? This
such a great scene. This is such a fantastic scene.
Okay, tell me why.
The father and the son. Well, first off, the religious imagery of the angel wings with the him standing
palms,
there, and I love Major Briggs, and they're dynamic. It is like all of fathers and sons, or maybe just me and my dad, and that's where I'm stuck in this mode. But I love the fact that it doesn't feel like an abusive environment to me, even though maybe for people from the outside it would be. But the energy of Major Briggs and trying to guide his son and having all this information and approaching it from like an intellectual perspective, and Bobby, who is like the hot-tempered, young, like full of idealism that we can get to a little bit later, and also making the wrong decisions and doing all that, and that like fire against that cold, sort of stoic Major Briggs approach, and the two of them like bashing against each other, like like the ocean against a lighthouse or something. I love it. And then the mom, like when the mom comes in and has to break this up, and she's sort of like oblivious,
absolutely,
to this thing in the house, sort of trapped outside of it. But like the moment after that she breaks it, and then they sort of sit with themselves. I don't know. There's something about it that is like, I don't want to say wholesome, but it's not a negative to me. And I could see people thinking like, because the son treats the dad like crap, full stop. But so many sons treat their dads like crap. Like I feel like that's the process of like growing up and becoming a man and all of those things. So I love the way this scene's composed. I like the wings. Like I'm a huge fan of it.
Yeah.
One of my favorites.
Huh. That's interesting. No, I like it for all the same reasons that you do. I think, the fact that Bobby is so disrespectful to Major Briggs, to his father, he's like, yeah, that's just the way that it is. Like, he says that in the dinner scene in a previous episode. It's like, this is a natural pushing of boundaries and whatnot. So he's just so matter of fact and analytical about it, unemotional. It's like, yep, this is what's going to happen. Afraid. Yeah.
I'm gonna turn it upside down.
Yeah. Bobby's goes to 11 immediately. But I love Betty coming in at the end so it's either she didn't hear them somehow from 3 feet away, or it's just like that's the background noise of their house always.
That's their house.
And she's also wearing a smiley face pin on her lapel.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
They're heading to a funeral. She has a big yellow smiley face pin on her lapel, and she's holding a rosary in her other hand. Very, very strange thing. But yeah. From there, we're going to head with Cooper and Harry. They're returned to the police station, and Hawk continues to search for the one-armed man. Albert fills in the boys on what he's uncovered and asks to have a private word with Cooper.
Yeah, I love Hawk, as I've mentioned. Also, we find out Hawk is a tracker, one of the best, which is a Native American trope. But Cooper's so happy about it.
He has that just like, it's such a strange reaction. Like, oh, so excited and maybe in awe a little bit, which is great.
I had mentioned it earlier, like, okay, why does Cooper work with Albert? He's so awful to everyone.
Yeah.
The reason why he works with Albert is because Albert is really good at his job, and he proves it here now. Like, we learned the cocaine in the diary, newsflash, she had an extensive drug habit. But we get the fibers in her wrists and it's in her upper arms and from 2 types of twine. And then we get the first real reveal of like something that came from the dream is now. And that's what's also just interesting is like, this case is being driven from inside of someone's psyche, which at the time, I mean, how many stories have really taken this approach? Just so interesting and unique. But yes, sometimes my arms bend back. Wonderful. We find out there's traces of soap that were found outside the railroad car. And, Albert makes the assumption that the killer leaned in for a kiss, which is also creepy. We learn that's not her home use brand.
The way that Albert like mimes that, for some reason, I just find that miming, the pantomime, so unsettling. The way that Albert demonstrates it. Yeah, it's great. It's absolutely.
The wounds on the neck and shoulders, we know are animal bites, and we get that great dig at poor.
It's trying to think.
Where does he keep his water dish, or does that come later?
No, that's not this one. He says, look, it's trying to think. And Cooper at that moment has a reaction to it and looks down like he's reaching the end of his rope, because not only is Albert so abrasive, but by this point, Cooper really trusts Harry and obviously likes him as a person, like loves the town anyway. But just, he's definitely coming to the end of his rope there, which is great to see this build up over time.
Yeah. And then the last piece of information that we get is we find out that it's a plastic piece that was partially digested in her stomach. It's got the letter J on it. He's going to do some more analysis on it. And then this is interrupted by, when Andy comes in and just says it's time. Right. Mm-hmm. And then you learn like this was the sacrifice, because if Albert had more time, he would have been able to get more information. And Albert is right. Yeah. Right. Like this is the only time that you can do these kind of tests, that you literally can have a funeral whenever you want. Like it is important to the case to do it now. But that sacrifice is worth it, right? Because it's about decency and it's about honor and dignity, and all these things have value, and that value exceeds whatever data you were going to get from the body. But it is a sacrifice.
I don't know, man.
It is a sacrifice.
I'm on Team Albert. I'm on Team Albert this time. No,
Okay.
but you're totally right. You're right.
You could be on Team Albert, but like...
No. It's about the humanity. It's about the people that were left behind.
He says it's time, and it's like, if I had more time, what could I have learned? Bam, here's why we're giving it up. And then Harry's line, excuse me, I have a funeral to get to, is like, okay, they've made their choice, and in here, life means more than maybe it does in these other places. But as I said before, like, as we pull the layers of this town back, it's not always true.
We do have the private word exchange between Cooper and Albert. Just like he reads, this is the report detailing everything. Albert, I'm not going to sign this. That whole conversation is just great. Just great.
He's
like, cuts Albert down to size. Yep, I'll bury you. You'll never see the light of day again. Just terrific. But then the cap on this scene is Cooper recording a note to Diane that he wants to look into his pension plan to see about buying a piece of land at what I'm sure will be a very reasonable price.
Let's see how season 2 goes. That little we could stay in this town for a while line. I love that. One thing with the Albert bit, like when he does dress him down, I'll bury you in a room in Washington, you'll never see the sun. Like Albert like submits at that point, and he looks down and he sort of slinks away. And as you do, they work together. Like he's worked with Albert before, so they have an existing relationship that we're just not a party to at this point.
Next, we head over to Big Ed and Nadine's, and it appears they had quite the night together, Eric. And Nadine is feeling fine.
She's feeling fine. But for me, based on what you said, I don't think they had like a passionate night or like some kind of...
she did.
Right.
I don't know that he did.
I feel like her joy and what she's talking about with last night is about the drapes. Like the fact
you think so?
Yes.
Okay.
And the fact that he came home to her. And that's the joy that she feels. And Ed is very much in a prison. I don't think he would have done anything with her. I don't think it was that. I think the joy that she's talking about is the fact that her drapes are quiet. Because we're watching multiple episodes, but it is condensed into... This is the
next
day, but the previous night is when she had gotten the grease on her drape runners. That's when she ran and grabbed him, right? Because he went out with Norma. I'm in the doghouse again. He comes home. David Lynch says, "Good night, Ed." He comes in. She runs at him and just grabs him and hugs him.
Yeah,
that's her. That's what I think when she says last night is that moment. I don't think anything happened in between there other than we missed a scene somewhere where he came home because he told Norma I can't be with her. That's me adding it.
But that would okay. Can't say you're wrong.
There's another scene. There's another scene we're going to get to that also justifies that, but we'll get there.
Okay, because for that to necessarily be true, that would mean that Ed doesn't come home to her. Like he's sleeping at Norma's, which I don't think is true. I don't think he's they're still being secretive.
He came home, like he went out.
Yeah.
They got into a fight, right? I'm in the doghouse again.
Well, because he stepped on the drape runners or broke them.
They get in a fight. He leaves.
Okay. Yep.
He comes home. In her head, she may think he leaves and never, like, she's probably worried all the time that he's going to leave forever.
But he comes home every night. So is she doing this
they had
to
a
him
fight.
Every morning?
They had a fight.
Which is not the first time they've had a fight either. Like, I don't know.
I think we can agree to disagree on that one. To me,
no. We're gonna fight this out for the next hour.
I think they had a fight. He left, and then he came home, and she's so happy he came home. I think it's as simple as that.
Totally fine.
But
either way, she's all over him, man.
But
she is,
and she loves him.
He is not.
And you learn so much more about his guilt prison. Like Nadine's held this love for Ed since high school. But with this same guilt trip story of Nadine's origin story, you also learn that he's loved Norma since high school. And they were together for so long. And these are the people that should be together, but now he's trapped like one of these things on her shelf, right? We get that glass menagerie pan over. Like she's definitely a Laura Wingfield I'm thinking, like you even get like a little Hubble figurine with an eye patch, which is funny.
It was a woman in a bonnet with a black eye patch. It was great.
And like he's like, oh, is this a new one? And you're like, Ed, you are stuck on this shelf with all of these other things.
Can we talk about those figurines, by the way? Because
sure.
it pans slowly across them, and it's mostly figurines of women. Except there's a boot in the back too, but whatever. Figurines of women. There's one of an angel with its arms out, kind of like watching over two children. And one angel wing is there. The other's missing, has been replaced by a black, like, crow feather instead.
That's interesting.
Which is very strange. It's a weird collection. So it pans across all of those. We see the bonnet with the eye patch. Then the last one, the one that said, is this new? And it's so beautiful. I can't make heads or tails of this thing. And I watched it in freeze frame and slow-mo over and over. So it is a woman in petticoats. It's in profile, woman in petticoats, but maybe it's an arm reached out. And what looks just like, I don't know, like lollipop sticks with streamers on the end of them. It almost reminds me, for some reason, I know this is not it, but for some reason, you ever hear of like the accurate biblical depiction of angels, and they're like these winged creatures with a million of eyes? It reminds me of something like that.
Yeah.
But it doesn't fit with anything else that's there, and it's so bizarre.
It's a new one.
And she's entranced by it. I want to know what that figure. I want like a 3D printout of what this thing looks like, because it's bonkers.
I mean, it could tie into the fact that it's getting stranger. Is she has a clear mental disorder? I mean, we know she has a mental disorder, but now we get evidence that she doesn't know who James is. So it's getting worse, and then you get just that shot of Ed, and he's just dying inside.
Yeah, I mean, she says, yeah, James who, but when she hears the motorcycle outside, she says, that's not your bike, is it, Ed? As she's holding Ed.
Yeah.
So it's like this is the first, she's a little cuckoo, whatever. This is the first that we're really seeing that she's
right. It's much more serious than just liking Drape Runners.
Absolutely. Which is totally fine, a normal thing. We do get James to come in to say he's not going and walks back out again. It's just so funny. He almost just like stomps. I'm not going. Stomps.
Now, if you were dating that guy, you too might send a tape to Jacoby and be like, God, he's sweet, but he's so dumb.
So dumb.
I'm not going. And then he goes anyway. So it's like, okay.
Yeah, then he still goes. Of course he's going to go. But that was such a weird little thing. But all right.
I do like James, though, in all fairness.
Of course. You can't not like James.
I like James sweet. As I gotten older. And like when we get to the return, of course, I like James. I enjoy seeing James. There's certain things about James. But as a kid, the Donna and James stuff becomes some of my least favorite as we go, but we'll see.
Oh, well, looking forward to that.
Well, not all of it. There's some stuff I do like.
Oh, no, he hates it, folks. Okay.
There's nothing that I hate, I'll tell you that.
I guess it's all relative scale. Yeah. So yeah, you still love it. Okay, Eric, let's head back over to the Great Northern. People are getting ready for the funeral. We have the horns getting ready to go, and they need a little help from Dr.
Jacoby for the help here. It's very sad to hear about Johnny, the way they're talking about Johnny in front of Johnny. We get a little bit more insight into how old Johnny is. So he's about 20, because Ben is like, I've been dealing with this been waiting 20 years for some sign of life out of this kid. We do get a nicer side of Jacoby. Like Jacoby in the pilot is very creepy. We know that he's got the other half of the heart-shaped necklace. We know that Laura sent him a tape on the last night that anyone saw her alive. So
very importantly, we know that the rock hit the bottle but didn't break it.
Right. So there's something up with Jacoby, but at least now he's humanized a little bit more, and we see like this kinder side to him, which is great. Mm-hmm. I really love like the POV shot of the spy hole, and it just introduces this like the secret passageways. Like the Great Northern is like a house of deception and intrigue. Like there's secret doors, panels, things for spying. Like you're never truly private. So again, it feeds more into the Bad Ben, the world of the Bad Ben, and seeing Audrey sort of move through this, that she maybe has a choice where she could go in one or two directions, either towards Cooper or towards her father.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
Also, Audrey is not to just be about the look, but Audrey's appearance, the all black and the slicked hair and everything, she just looks absolutely stunning in this scene too. And then, The secret passageway is great. Just having that panel that she removes, like a little secret panel to the peephole. Just, it's all super creepy. Well said. Okay, but from here, now we're heading over to the funeral. So at the funeral, Bobby loses his cool while he's surrounded by hypocrites. And James, who's had enough of that talk, rushes at Bobby, hoping for a fight. And meanwhile, Leland says goodbye.
Yeah, I love this scene. And one of my favorite scenes. In you're gonna hear me say that a lot because they're all great.
They're all your
but
favorites.
This is such a. You get to see the different people in the town. People that like Lara Flynn Boyle, Donna. It's the only time we see her in this whole episode.
She's
really not in it. Doesn't really have any lines, but at least we see her. We're reminded of the loss that she's feeling here. We get to see the sadness on everyone's face. You know, James did show up, even though he made that whole thing, because of course he did. You already mentioned Sherilyn Fenn and that very 90s fashion look. Bobby's right. Like, Bobby's 100% right in everything that he's saying.
You want to know who killed Laura Palmer? We all did.
We all did, too. He's not saying you killed. He's like, he's taking it on himself.
Yep.
And when he says, you save your prayers because she would have laughed at him anyway, is a glimpse into a Laura that we're just starting to meet and learn about. And there's so much more to Bobby when you find out, like, all the reasons why you hate him and, like, things about him. Like, especially, I can't wait till we get to the diary. And you just see, like, why he did end up the way he did. And when he says, like, and she loved me, that isn't, like, an ego thing. That's, like, he's been telling, like, that was all he wanted. And so, like, to hear him deliver this line and sort of point out the hypocrisy, like you said, of everybody that's standing there. Like, they all knew she was in trouble. Like, and as Cooper's uncovering this stuff, and she's had a cocaine habit, like, she's doing all these things, she's with all these people, like, it was clear that everybody knew what was going on.
Well,
whether or not they were publicly talking about it, we're seeing more and more and more of that. Yeah. Again, I don't know. It's very sad, but very funny to see Leland jump on the casket.
Oh my god!
And the fact that it breaks.
I was watching it and just cackling, laughing at it because it is so.
Yeah, it's a merging of grief into comedy. It's played for comedy, but it is sad. And don't ruin this too. And
yes, her delivery of "Don't ruin this too" is just
as like through the PO, like the shot up from the grave, and just
up and down,
but that off like what is it? The audio. What is an audio off panel, but not off panel? Whatever. The dialogue that comes from off screen.
Yes.
That's just like, it's out of control, or it's
gone haywire.
Like, just that one line as he's going up and down,
sobbing and clutching at the flowers on the. Yeah, it's awful. We do also get the two James and Bobby running at each other in the slow motion.
Slow motion is very effective.
You're gonna die. I'm gonna kill you. That's over and over and over again. Mike barely gets in there at all to try to get a punch in at James too, but they get pulled away.
And did I mention how Bobby knocks into Johnny? Just knocks him out of. Yeah. So Johnny does the amen, and then all of a sudden Bobby's like, amen. But when he rushes out to, like, address everyone, like, even in his moment of, like, idealistic righteousness, whatever, he knocks into the poor Johnny, who's, of all people to knock into. It sort of takes him down a few pegs, but yeah.
Oh, just terrible. I will say, right before this scene, the interstitial between the previous scene and this one is Wind Through the Trees. To your point earlier of maybe these mood pieces that get repeated or reused throughout episodes. So we get that leading right into this. But then, we get the. So after the funeral, it's dinner time over the Double R, and Cooper meets up with Harry, Hawk, and Big Ed to discuss a transnational issue. They head out to the bookhouse where they have a conversation with a French Canadian who recently crossed the border. Eric, I gotta say, first thing though, like I just said in the previous scene, I cackling with laughter at Leland going up and down on the casket, and then this opens with Shelley recounting the story to the patrons at the bar, and she's making fun of the whole thing happening. But when I see her doing it, I feel, that's awful.
It's sad
that she's doing, and it's great because I was just doing the same thing. So, like, she is mirroring the viewer.
You're just
back
as
to them.
bad as Shelley.
It's perfect.
And if you're going to be anyone, be Shelley, because she's.
But it also feels out of character for Shelley. From what we've seen of her, she doesn't really seem. she's done nothing to this point that would really show that she's cruel in that way about a father's grief.
But I don't think she's being cruel, even though it's cruel. Like, the idea of making fun of grief in that way is cruel, but it's such an absurd and funny moment that if you were at that funeral and you didn't really know, I mean, she knows Laura. I shouldn't say she doesn't know Laura, and they have some history together.
Sure.
But you may recount that story without being in the way that I think, like, her it wouldn't make her personality be she's a mean person.
No. It just felt out of character to me the way I was seeing it. But I think it was because
very
it was
funny.
reflecting the audience.
With some behind the scenes stuff, apparently that scene wasn't supposed to be that scene.
This is the scene where I think everybody didn't really know their lines, and I remember saying, let's just turn on the camera here.
They sort of just did that and then sort of pan over to the booth.
Gotcha. Well,
what a great scene, though. Like, it's
take us over to the booth.
Those laughing old guys. Oh, they're amazing.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
So one thing, even before we get to the double R, again, give me them lights changing.
Yeah, I knew. As soon as I said it, I forgot to mention. I love it. And the wind blowing in the background.
I love the camera movement that goes from that sort of the sadness of that funny bit with Shelley, and the way that it sort of moves over their heads and into the booth.
Yeah.
I love that. I love the look on Harry's face when he's like showing off his new best friend to his old friends. Like, oh, this guy's so cool. Wait, and like he's doing parlor tricks and showing off and that is like a scene that is like such a great way of showing a friendship deepening is when you're now introducing that friend to especially your super secret club, the Bookhouse Boys.
Friends. Yeah,
he's an outsider. Are you sure? You're like, so he's been.
No, man,
if
he's
you didn't
cool.
think that they were close. Now this is like blood brothers bonding moment. So I like that. I like the little plastic duck that is for some reason behind them in the booth. There's like a plastic duck as part of the decoration of the double R. I love those coffee cups. And I know Kyle MacLachlan has that coffee cup, and I'm a little jealous. Great. Here's the scene that also feeds into my theory that we're missing a scene. When Norma comes to the table and they order the huckleberry pie, she shoots Ed a death look.
You're absolutely.
She's like looks at him like it is not the look you would give someone following the last time we saw them together. So something happened in between, and she's mad at him. She's mad at him.
Yeah.
So that's why something's in between there.
No, you're right. That's good. It's good. Good deducing you got there. I had read it as more of like, maybe it's like being nervous about Hank coming home, but it totally makes more sense to say like we're missing an argument, and maybe it was about Hank. I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah, I feel like
but
the Hank
great.
thing
That's great.
was her accepting her fate that Ed is never going to leave Nadine.
Yeah,
so here's my life.
That's really good. That's really good.
That's the way I'm looking at it.
I think we should not skip over the fact that Cooper has switched to Huckleberry Pie now. So just
what
FYI.
is Huckleberry?
It's
what is Huckleberry Pie?
Huckleberries.
Well, Huckleberries
they're like raspberries. They're just wild berries.
Are they good? Have you ever had Huckleberry Pie?
I don't know that I've ever had a Huckleberry.
I wish somehow we could get pies for this. I like pies.
I love pie.
I'm pie over cake.
Same.
Yeah.
100%.
Okay.
All right. Well, we got that solved. We hear this what's been going on with these guys. We got Big Ed was going undercover when we saw him at the Roadhouse, and he said that he felt like he was slipped to Mickey, and now we hear about Jacques Renault again,
who's been running drugs from Canada.
So that's now we're starting to get more of this story, and that Big Ed was going undercover, and it's like, that's outside of your jurisdiction. And then we learn about the secret society. I think the important point is it's not just a secret society to like fight crime in the town.
It's the woods.
It's because of the woods. There's something strange in the old woods, and it takes many forms. I love the way that Harry is describing this balance of all the good things they get of being isolated from the rest of the world and all the benefits that has, but like he says, it comes with something on the back end.
There's like a shadow self to everything. So the goodness has that. And I also love the way Harry has to be like, okay, this could be a little weird. Talking to a guy who that morning had told him over coffee, I know who killed Laura Palmer. It's locked in my dream.
but I can't remember.
Right, who also was throwing rocks, and it's like, okay, this may be too weird for you.
It was great.
Yeah,
it was absolutely a very clever thing to say. Like, yeah, you're gonna have to stick with me on this one.
And I love the idea of the woods and the energy in the woods, because I feel the energy in the woods. I love the woods, and just having that is such a cool part of the show.
And the fact that it's been generations of men before them always there to fight it. I think that's great. So then, they give the secret sign. They're going to head off to the bookhouse. So tell me about that part.
Also with this, like, you get the generations of these guys who are the good guys. Mm-hmm. And then you have like generations we talked about that mural in the Great Northern of the Horn brothers. And there's those guys that have been, exploiting the community for this long. And now we have this one group that's sort of defending it. And the people that are the good guys are the outcasts. Like when we go to the bookhouse, we've got Joey Polston's back. It's the bikers. It's like the non-athletes, like the athletes like Bobby and Mike and Leo, even though we don't know he officially played football. He clearly plays football with
that arm. We know he did.
So like, and the businessmen, and it's like like the weirdos are the heroes, and the regular folks are the bad guys. But yeah, the bookhouse, I had mentioned in the pilot, I think, that when Cooper breaks the lock on the diary, like he'll follow the rules, but he will break some rules. Because clearly what they're doing to Bernard is not legal. There's no lawyer present.
Why do you say that?
They're now operating completely outside of the law. Yes, we have people that aren't real deputies. We have high school kids like taking in drug mules. Yeah. So that's
mule.
That's what I was saying. Like, this is just a hint that Cooper will go outside the law or do things for the greater good. Not that he's a bad person or anything, but like, this is sort of what I was getting at. Yeah, I love Cooper's line about the cocaine. Like, guess you don't get a lot of sleep. Perfectly delivered. Yep. One thing that is not a big deal, but when you see like, Joey Polston is a bookhouse boy, James is a bookhouse boy, and then you think back about like Harry when they were treated, following them and throwing him in jail. I could think maybe Harry would have stood up for him a little bit more. Maybe give him a pillow if you're putting him in the cell, since they have this. Now, did they know that this is where the story was going or not? Like, who knows? But I know I liked seeing the all the bikers as part of this bookhouse, and the idea of a bookhouse is very cool. Like this coffee shop that is also a place you could just interrogate Bernard. Bernard Renault, another Renault brother. We've got two Renault brothers if you're collecting at home.
The scene is great. But it continues from there. Over at the Roadhouse, we finally get to see Jacques. He gets a signal that all's not well, and he has to phone a friend.
The bus light's on.
The bus light. Tell me about this. I mean, it's a quick scene, but now we're getting these characters all connecting.
Couple of notes. Jacques does not look like the guy who usually walks to work. Like, where did he park his car? From. Did he just walk in from Canada?
He walked from Canada.
So he's heading to the Roadhouse. He's nowhere near the parking lot, but he's walking. So he sees the bus light. I like the way that Jacques also talks to Leo. And you're like, okay, Leo's this tough guy. But also maybe Jacques really the one that's in charge. Like, and as we're learning now, we know Jacques is involved in this drug ring. We know Leo is involved in this drug ring. We know Mike, Bobby, and Laura are involved. So all these characters are connected. We're starting to see how they're connected. Yeah. So we get more confirmation on that. And we were reminded with Shelley that she still has that bloody shirt. So don't forget about the bloody shirt. She's got that hidden, and now she has a gun, and she has her own secret spot. So that's cool that you have that. But that's all I have for this.
I got the same thing. We're getting a repetition of these secret hiding places. We got the place in the Great Northern. We got this. We have another one coming up later as well.
She's filled with secrets.
That repetition.
She being the town. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Very good. So outside the Packard house, Harry and Josie discuss her dealings with Catherine and Benjamin Horn, but Catherine is at least one step ahead.
Yeah, this one's fine. I mean, it's
this one's fine.
It's fine. It's like Josie's filling Harry in on a big suspicion, which is that Catherine had something to do with her husband Andrew's death. Andrew being Catherine's brother. Mm-hmm. So Josie and Harry, we know from each other. We know they're having a relationship. Maybe not everyone in the town knows, but it's been going on for at least a year or a few weeks. No, Andrew's been dead a year or over a year, and they've been dating for like a month or two, right?
Something like that. Yeah, 6 weeks. Yeah.
She's letting him in on these things. We're learning about the two ledgers. Again, you mentioned Catherine's already moved it because she's constantly listening. Again, everyone is spying on everyone. No place is safe in Twin Peaks, really. Someone's spying on you or listening. And I guess I didn't even realize that happens in multiple scenes. There's some kind of, deception.
Catherine on the intercom
within
that with the
place is a deception, right? The peephole, the whatever. She gives Pete the business. So like, I don't know. I would just hit a hat tip to Pete's exit, not turning around, just that hat tip that he goes and he's looking for his tackle box. Like, are you fishing now? It's got to be late at night. Are people going to bed? But he's going out fishing. I love Jack Nanson, so hat tip to you, sir.
We see that Catherine is holding the other ledger because Josie takes Harry to go see the evidence. The reveal is that she's holding it there, and then she hides it in her own secret hiding place inside her desk. So we got all these little secret hiding places. I like that it's a false bottom and everything's all stuck to it. So it's just like
probably easy to figure that one out.
You would think.
You're looking around in someone's desk and nothing's moving.
I need a pair of scissors and the whole desk drawer comes out. Yeah, but I love that a lot. But just Catherine saying, "Be a man and ask me to my face," is great. And he doesn't really back down. He doesn't have like a great like comeback or anything, but he definitely does not back down to her, which is great.
He just slinks away without turning around.
But now it's night over at the cemetery.
Night at the cemetery, my favorite time.
Night at the cemetery, and Dr. Jacoby is paying his respects at Laura's grave, and he and Cooper discuss Laura's effect on him.
Yeah, more humanizing of Jacoby. It started out where you see him with Johnny, and now you're going to see he's going to really let you in on, expose himself, but not in that way.
No, not
to
yet.
Cooper.
What?
We learn that he was in love with Laura. He admits that he's not a good person, and I feel like this is almost like the beginning of a potential redemption arc for Jacoby, because not that it makes him a good person, but at least he's acknowledging that he himself realized he's not a good person. He listens to these people, but he really hates them. And it wasn't until Laura that she actually connected with him and brought something out of him. And maybe he did want to save her. We don't know, but we're going to learn more of the relationship again in the diary. But he's really hurt by her death.
Yeah.
Whether or not he had a hand in it, who's to say at this point, but I also love his cape. He's walking around in a cape in the cemetery. So
he's a strong dress, strong choices in his sartorial approach. So to Cooper, we must assume that Cooper was there, kind of staking it out, because he had been at the funeral, and we had so many shots of Cooper. Just a close up of his face, just observing and looking back and forth and seeing everything that's going on. So he must have recognized Jacoby's not there, and he knows that there's something going on there. Maybe, I don't know if he was there waiting for Jacoby specifically, but definitely scoping the place
Absolutely,
out. But I would be doubtful that he knew Jacoby was going to show up.
Yeah, I don't know if he necessarily knew it was Jacoby, although that's certainly a good call. But often killers will return to things like that. Like maybe they would show up at the grave, or most certainly be at the funeral.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a good point. Like, did he notice he was the one that wasn't there?
Right. We do go back to the conversation between Josie and Harry, and he does her best to help her forget her fears the best way he knows how.
It gets passionate.
Boy, does it.
It gets hot in here.
They are eating faces, man, and it goes for a while.
Again, it's just more detail about she's sort of painting it out for him. Ben and Catherine want to do this to me.
Yes.
And now you want to do this 100%.
To me. Yeah. She knows the whole thing that's going on. So Josie is not...
She's not naive to maybe
not
what's
at all.
Going on around you.
Even though she may not have been intimately involved with the business and what's going on day to day, she's not a dummy.
And she's laying it out for Harry.
For Harry, yeah.
She's saying, here's exactly what's going on. Now it's your turn to do something.
Do you believe in the soul?
Several.
More than one?
Blackfoot legend. Waking souls that give life to the mind and the body. A dream soul that wanders.
Dream souls? Where do they wander?
Faraway places. The land of the dead.
Is that where Laura is?
Laura's in the ground, Agent Cooper. That's the only thing I'm sure of.
And finally, we're at the Great Northern's bar. We got folks dancing as Cooper and Hawk discuss the nature of souls.
I love this episode so much. Like, I'm not ranking these episodes. Pilot is so strong. Like, there's so many great. This one,
I actually saw someone. I'm sure this is like 1,000 of these, like ranking Twin Peaks episodes.
Don't even
like,
do that.
Why would you do that? They don't stand alone. They all.
I just have appreciation for all of them, but this one especially. There's so many great scenes in this one, and I love how she shot this, and the timing, and this scene is so good. Yeah. Hawk, we get to learn about, that you can have two souls, and there's a lot of stuff here that we can do stuff with, right? We learned about a waking soul that gives life to the mind and body, also called a breath soul. Like, when you die, that breath is gone and your soul leaves your body. But then the dream soul, Dan, the soul that wanders to faraway places, a shadow soul, Ami-Tapi, is in the Blackfoot tongue. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. I think
that was perfect. That was flawless.
This up. I think I got that pronunciation correct.
Yeah.
But this is a real thing. Like, this is a real belief that it is a part of a person that can leave your body during sleep, or in a trance, or if you're doing some kind of ritual. It's all about dreams and visions and the spiritual. And it is believed that you could wander your soul when you dream. This soul, the dream soul, leaves your body and goes other places.
I've got good news.
And I think Cooper's done that. I think Cooper has gone to the Red Room. And it's interesting, if a person is a conduit for the physical and the spiritual, these two souls, duality, Twin Peaks, all of these things, this dual nature, if we're dreaming and we're communicating with other dream souls in this place, what would happen if another one of these dream souls came back with you and inhabited your form or commingled with your dream soul? Like, there's a lot going on there. I just love it. The conversation is beautiful, and then you see the grief of Leland while it's going on.
Yeah.
And it's such a... That's why I really like that movie, Zelly and Me Too. There's lots of those kind of quiet moments in that film that I like.
Yeah. I don't have anything to add to that. I think it's a great scene. I love the philosophical, spiritual conversation mixed with the real hard truth of grief in Leland. And this
Dance with
and
me.
this is
And
not
comedy.
and this is not. Well, I don't think this one's played for laughs at all.
It's not played for laughs, but also Dance with Me. Yeah.
Yeah. It's so terrible. And then, take him home. It just keeps repeating home. But yeah, then that's it. We're out. Another
the end of that one.
Another great episode. Just, if I had to rank them, but no, this is really, really good.
I
Eric,
think we did it. I guess it's worth pointing out for the last time, we go back to Laura's theme.
Oh, yes.
Photo of Laura
Right.
for a credit.
Yeah.
So
That was the only-
that one detour.
one time.
That was it. Next time, The One-Armed Man is the title of the episode. So we're going to learn more about who the One-Armed Man is.
Hey, don't give it away.
We had a hint about that, right? Because when we learned that Hawk was tracking him, we know he's looking, so perhaps he's going to find him.
Can't wait. All right, until next time.
A dream soul, Dan. Yes. Thank you for listening to the Meanwhile podcast with Dan Johnson and Eric Grissom. If you would like to support the Meanwhile podcast, you can leave us a donation by visiting ericgrissom.com/meanwhile and clicking on the support link. If you like our show, please consider rating and reviewing the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you're hearing this now. Meanwhile is produced by Eric Grissom and Where's My Robots? The Meanwhile theme song is written and performed by Paul Finn and Evening Pines. If you want to let us know what you thought of the show, you can reach Dan at danjnj.com, both on the web and on Blue Sky. Eric can be found on Blue Sky at ericgrissom.com, which is also his website. It's also me, right? That's weird. We'll see you again, and in the meantime, be good.
Listen to the sounds.
Meanwhile.